Good afternoon or good morning or whenever you're watching this. And today we're going to talk a little bit about slope. This is one of the standards that you hit in 7th grade math. And so we got to talk about what it is, what it means, and then how we find it and compute it. And you're going to do some exercises in IXL in a little bit. Slope, basically, it's a number. And it's a number. We often write it as a fraction, and you'll understand why in just a second. It doesn't have to be a fraction. It can be a decimal, it can be an integer, but a lot of times we'll put it in fraction form. And what this number does is it measures, or it gives us an idea of how steep a line is. Okay, so it measures basically how steep it is. For example, if I have a line that's kind of gradual like this, it won't have as large of a slope or as big a number as something like this. This is going to have a bigger number measuring its steepness. Why does that happen? Well, here's how we determine it. When we make the fraction, this number that tells us how steep it is, one of the easiest ways to think of this is that we take the number that we rise when we go from one point to the next over the run, which is going to be the horizontal. So what I mean by that is if you look at this first line here, we're going to count specifically how much you have to go up and then over in order to get from one point to the next. So as I travel along here, you'd measure how far up you'd go and how far over. Let's take a look at a few graphs and then hopefully it'll become more clear. All right, it says look at this graph, what is the slope? So as you look at this line, first thing is you need to find 2 points. So you need to find points that are going smack dab right directly on a nice coordinate. So here's one. The next one looks like it's about right here. There's another one way up here. Pick any 2 of these, it doesn't matter. I'm going to pick these first 2. And what you want to do is measure how far vertically do we have to travel. So we're finding the change in the vertical. That's called the rise number, or sometimes you'll hear them call it the change in your y value. That goes on top. Okay, so we're always going to think rise over run. So when I look at this one, I went from a vertical level of 0 up to 50. So I went up 50. The run, the number we put in the denominator, is the horizontal number. And I'm going from 50 to 70. That becomes 20. So this number, 50 over 20, is your slope. Now, it's not in simplest form. Typically what we would do is get the fraction. You can leave it improper. Notice here on IXL it's going to tell you leave it as improper, as 5 over 2. Some people might write it as 2.5 or 2.5, but really for our purposes we're going to leave it as the fraction, because then I'm really thinking the rise over the run. I'm going up 5 and to the right 2. So enter in 5 over 2. Look at the next one here. Here's this graph, and it's asking you what is the slope. So you're going to take, this isn't a good spot to start, mainly because I can't tell exactly where I am, but this looks like a good one. Here's one, here's one, here's one. Choose any 2 points along here. I'm going to go in the middle this time. Okay, so I'm going to go starting right here. This is my rise. I went from 70 to 80. So my change is that I was going up 10. My rise is positive 10. And then I'm going to the right. Well, I'm going 3 squares, but realize that my intervals are a quantity of 10 each. So I really went 30 to the right. And 10 over 30 in simplest form is 1/3. So enter 1/3. And there you go. What I want you to do now is go on to IXL, log in, and I want you to start on this objective, and this objective happens to be X11. Start working on that and get your SMART score up to at least an 80, and then we can check this one off.